Alright, hello. My name is Donny Gates. This is my first podcast. Hopefully this will be a weekly thing. Um, I'm a couple weeks behind right now because I had planned to start this a couple weeks ago, but my real job got in the way and it's my first day off. I practically had to beg for it. So I'll just jump right in. I'm from New Hampshire. I don't really know what I'll talk about, just kind of bounce some ideas around and try to talk about some sports and TV and some politics if I can get into it. I'd love to talk more about politics, but I don't really know much about it, so maybe I'll have to learn about that. So let's get started with some sports stuff. I don't know anything about football or baseball. I don't really follow those. I'd like to learn more about them so I can talk to you guys more about them. So maybe that's something I'll have to do in the future. I just find I don't understand them very much, and baseball seems like it's probably pretty easy to understand, but I just can't get into baseball. They play like 100 games a year, so it's a little too much for me to follow. Uh, and it seems like all the major sports, football, baseball, hockey, and basketball, seems like there's always three of them going on at the same time. I know that in April there's some baseball going on, some hockey going on, and basketball going on. And then in October it's basketball, baseball, and football, and there might even be some hockey in there if I'm not mistaken. So I just can't dedicate all that much time to watching it like some people do. I got a friend online who watches every single baseball game the whole way through, and sometimes those games run for hours and hours. I can't really throw myself into it that much. So, but I do follow NASCAR. Not a lot of people up here in New Hampshire follow NASCAR. It's kind of disappointing because sucks not having anyone to talk to about it when you're passionate about something. So hopefully there's some people out there in the podcast world that do follow it that will like the things that I have to say. Start off by talking about Pastrana. Again, I'm a couple weeks behind. I meant to talk. I wanted to talk about this a couple weeks ago when I wanted to start this podcast, but we'll have to do it today. I think Pastrana leaving is a bad decision for him. I think there must be more behind it besides not feeling good about where he finished in the point standings. But I think for a rookie to finish in 14th in the points at the end of the season is a pretty good position. When you consider that Danica Patrick, who's been racing for many years in the open wheels, and she did some NASCAR nationwide stuff, and this year she did a full season in Sprint Cup, but last year she ran part-time schedule in Sprint. And even still, with all that experience, this year she only finished somewhere in 25th or something like that. So I think for him to finish 14th at the end of his season, of his first season, is actually pretty good. So I think there must be more to it. Maybe he didn't like it. Maybe he fell into that whole just going around in circles thing. It's disappointing for me because I thought that Pastrana coming over to the Nationwide Series would bring in a younger crowd and kind of reboost NASCAR back to being a popular sport again. The way that before, when I was in school, when I was in high school in the late 90s, even dirt biking then wasn't really as extreme as it is now. It was the dirt racetracks and just going around the racetracks for a few laps, and that was it. There wasn't really the big air stuff and the flips and all the BMX tricks meeting in dirt biking that Travis Pastrana kind of was a pioneer for. Not that I thought that he was going to be doing flips and shit with his race car, but I certainly hoped that he would bring in, kind of rekindle the fire in NASCAR. Moving on from Pastrana, I want to talk about Donovan McNabb too. What an asshole. again, just reiterating that I meant, this is stuff that I wanted to talk about a couple weeks ago before Homestead, but McNabb obviously very not educated in NASCAR to say something like that about Jimmy Johnson or any other NASCAR racer. I think that there's probably a few racers who don't train as hard as Jimmy Johnson does, but there's plenty that do. Donovan McNabb's comments about not being an athlete, that might have been relevant 15 or 20 years ago, but in the last 10 years, I think NASCAR has taken some drastic changes. You look at Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson, maybe Casey Kane, I'm not sure. There's a couple other, Kurt Busch, he runs that whole Bushwhacked event. Excuse me, just taking a drink there. He runs that whole Bushwhacked event, and NASCAR racers just aren't what they used to be. They're a lot more athletic now. Carl Edwards, for the most part, he seems like like NASCAR is almost a secondary sport. He concentrates on running and bicycling and whatever else he does. And NASCAR is just kind of something. I know that it's not the truth, but it just seems like NASCAR is something he does on the side. Maybe that's just because he hasn't won a championship yet. Going on from there, from championships, Jimmy Johnson, 6-time champion. I'm very excited about that. I know a lot of people that aren't, and I don't care. I'm psyched. I was really excited when that happened. I was in my living room dancing and clapping and excited about it. I'm a big Jimmy Johnson fan. I started watching NASCAR in 2008, and that was the year that he won his 3rd championship. When I first started watching, I didn't really have a favorite. I kind of grew on Jimmy Johnson as I watched. In 2008, that was the year that Kyle Busch was just dominating the regular season. He destroyed the track. He winning all sorts of races. It seemed like everywhere he went, he was winning. And it wasn't so much all the winning that Kyle Busch was doing that made me dislike him. It was his attitude. If he crashed in a race or if he lost a race because something happened, he was always blaming it on his pit crew, or he was blaming it on the other drivers around him and stuff like that. And whenever he won, it seemed like he was just, patting himself on the back that he did great and he did good and he did this and that and whatever. And that really bothered me. It's not a one-man sport. Jimmy Johnson doesn't get out of the car and change his own tires. It's a team effort to win every race, and to win a championship is a team effort. And that was how Jimmy Johnson grew on me at the end of the year. In 2008, I watched Jimmy Johnson. If he won a race, he was saying, that his pit crew did good and that Chad did good, and he never really talked about himself doing good out there. And if he lost the race, he was putting it on himself. Oh, I got loose in the corner and I hit the wall. So whatever happened. So that was how Jimmy Johnson really grew on me. That was how I became a big fan of Jimmy Johnson. And I was psyched to see him get 6, and I'm hoping that he gets at least 7. I don't know if he will. I'm hoping he gets 7. I don't think that it'll be next year, though. I know that a lot of Jimmy Johnson fans would love to see him get his number 7 next year, but I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be next year. I think that next year someone else is going to win. It'll probably be 2 or 3 years before Jimmy Johnson gets that number 7. And he's young enough. He's 38, I think. And so if he gets 7 in 2 years, he'd be 40. So he's probably got another 5 or 6 years beyond that to get 8. I think that he'll definitely get 8, at least. I think Richard Petty's right when he says that. And I don't think that we're going to see someone like this for a long, long time. I think next year will mark 20 years since Dale Earnhardt Sr. won his 7th championship. Tony Stewart, I think, has 3. Jeff Gordon has 4. I don't think that we're ever going to see someone get. If Jimmy Johnson gets 8, I don't think that we'll see someone get 8 for a long time. I don't think that I'll see it in my lifetime. I'm 31 years old now, and I don't think that I will see someone get 8 championships in my lifetime. And I'm not sure that I'd want to. So I mean, I can see how the Dale Earnhardt Sr. fans don't want to see Jimmy Johnson get 7, because they don't want to see the person that was their driver get taken down off the totem pole. So I guess I can kind of relate, because if Jimmy Johnson gets 8 or 9 or 10, I don't want to see someone get close. But good on him. Congratulations to Jimmy Johnson and the 48 team, Chad Knaus, and all the tire changers. Another thing about Donovan McNabb there, I'd love to see Donovan McNabb, or even any NFL player, any of the NFL players, baseball players, basketball players, any of those guys who think that NASCAR isn't a real sport. I'd love to see them. Jimmy Johnson next April is going to do the Texas race, which I think is a 400-mile race. That's a lot of driving, and they don't understand the beating that those guys take in the driver's seat during a race. So Jimmy Johnson's going to run in Texas next year, and the day after he's going to do the Boston Marathon, and I think that's pretty badass. And that's not an easy feat. Doing the Boston Marathon, I couldn't do it. I was in the military, and I don't run any further than I absolutely have to. If you tell me I have to run 2 miles, I'm going to run 2 miles and not 2.1, and I'm sure as hell never going to go running for my own enjoyment. So, moving on out of there, I work for the post office. I think I might have mentioned that earlier. It's a good job. It's kind of fun. I just walk around Portsmouth, New Hampshire, delivering mail all day, and I've kind of learned a lot about the area. I didn't know anything about Portsmouth before I started there. Despite having grown up and lived in the area for the last 30 years, I've never really known much about Portsmouth besides a couple of the bars. I can tell you that since being out there, I've learned that during the summer there's definitely some good-looking women out there. That doesn't hurt to look at. Delivering mail is kind of fun, just walking around. Once you learn, kind of just walking around all day with your own thoughts. Everything else kind of comes second nature. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Whether or not I stay there. Before that, I was a police officer for 4 years, and I really didn't like that at all. I think that's because I was a different kind of police officer. I didn't really drink the Kool-Aid. I couldn't get behind the whole police officers are better than everyone else. I couldn't believe that there was no gray line, gray area. I couldn't believe that everyone was guilty. I didn't think that if I pulled someone over and they had, half a joint in their car, I didn't think that that person needed to be arrested. And there were other people who thought that, that was worthy of being arrested, and I just didn't feel like that. I can't even count how many times I found something like that. I'd tell the person to just crush it up on the side of the road and go on their way. There was a guy a couple towns over here from New Hampshire that he used to get a drug arrest every single night, which looked good on paper, but the fact was that he's just going through. He pulled people over, asked to search their car, and he might find like one marijuana seed and then arrest them for that. I bet half the used cars on the road right now, you could probably go through and find a little bit of drugs. I mean, Jesus Christ, I could pull $1 out of my pocket and probably get some cocaine off of it. So I just didn't believe in all that bullshit, and it didn't work out. And I left the police force to go back to the military, go do another tour overseas, and came home and continued on with my life. Moved on to the next chapter, which ended up being the post office. And now here I am, I'm going to do this podcast today. Not going to run it very long, just kind of run a little test podcast and see how I feel about it. And 15 minutes in right now, and I kind of feel good about it. I like it. It's kind of nice bouncing my ideas off of my computer screen, apparently. I quit smoking 11 months ago now, almost 11 months ago to the day. Me and my girlfriend, we picked up these electric cigarettes. Won't say what their name is, but there's a couple different brands out there, and we're using one that, as far as where they're available for here in New Hampshire, they're only available online. They're good to use. They're not quite the same, but they do the trick, I think. A lot of people have a problem adjusting to it. I had some trouble adjusting to it also. I bought one, and I switched back and forth between the electric cigarette and the regular cigarettes. I'd use them both at the same time for about a month or so, and then one day I just kind of got tired of the regular cigarette and started using the electric one. It does save money. That's a plus. Money saving on it. That's a big thing for me. I like that. So what else do I got here? Been watching a TV show called Warehouse 13. Binge watching that. Watching 3 or 4 episodes a day. It's not a bad show. I can see where it's going, see where it'll end, which is the two main characters becoming a relationship. I watched the newest episode last night of The Walking Dead. I'm not a big fan of The Walking Dead, not the way that other people are. I just can't. It's not one of those shows like Kiefer Sutherland did that show 24. That was a show that I had to watch every single week. I couldn't wait for the next episode. And Walking Dead just isn't like that for me. It's just it's kind of something that at this point I'm just kind of watching to see, just what'll happen next. But if I miss an episode, I really don't care. And when the end of the season comes, I'm not dying for the next season. It's just not grabbing me like that. As far as I'm concerned, I think that a lot of the hype behind Walking Dead comes from its fad. Comes from a lot of people have friends that watch it, so they only watch it because their friends watch it. They just want to stay up on it with their friends. They don't really give a shit about the show. And I think that's how it gained so much popularity. Everyone just kind of wants to be included in their own crowd. And Sons of Anarchy, that's a pretty good show. If you haven't watched, if you're not caught up on the episodes, spoiler alert, you might want to turn this off for the next couple minutes. I was surprised to see Ron Perlman finally killed off the show. I was really surprised about that. That kind of came out of nowhere. Even up to the point that the trigger was being pulled, I thought that something was going to happen that was going to stop that. I didn't. With them having another season, a 7th season locked in, I didn't think that was going to happen. I figured next year they'd kill him. Really surprised with Tara. I don't know all the character names, so I apologize for that. They're real names. I was surprised with Tara pulling that bullet and she's going to get handed over. That whole scenario with Tara just keeps bouncing back and forth for me. One day it looks like she's committed to leaving and getting out of there, and the next it looks like she's contemplating staying, and I don't know. That's going to be interesting to see that play out. I don't know how that'll go. I do know that if she hands that bullet in and they take down the club that way, she better hope that they have a good witness protection program, because she'll be dead off the show. Sure. That might be the series finale next year, is her dying. I think with most TV shows, the best way to get rid of the show, to give a real finale of the show, is to kill off the main character. Otherwise, you're always left wondering. I used to watch The Shield with Michael Chiklis. I loved that show. I didn't like how it ended. Him just sitting in an office. Yeah, that sucks and all, but what happens after? Does he try to track down his wife and kids? Does he try to get back on the street where he wants to be? And they just kind of left it, just him in an office, and so whatever. That show's long gone. That ended 5 years ago now. Breaking Bad, I loved how that ended. That was another show that I didn't really have to see the next episode. I just kind of heard that it was good. So I started watching it because I had nothing else to watch, and I binged the first 3 seasons, I think, and then after that, I wanted to see where it went. And in this final season, I kept telling my buddy, the only way to end the show is to kill him. It's the only way they're gonna end that show is to kill off Mr. White, Walter White. And he was saying he didn't think that was going to happen, and sure enough, they killed him. And I thought that was the best way to end it. It was a perfect ending. They kill him. Everyone else gets away nice and free. Jesse goes on to live his life. That was a great ending. I like that. The Walking Dead. I think that I've heard one theory, and I totally agree with it, that Rick is in a coma. And that opening episode, he gets in that car crash and goes into a coma, wakes up a few months later. I'm convinced that he is in a coma. I know that with these last couple of episodes, with the governor reappearing and then not focusing on Rick, that kind of hurts my theory that maybe he's not in a coma, because why are we seeing this? I couldn't explain that. I can't explain why we're seeing that if he's in a coma. But I do think that's the only way to end the show. If they're going to go for 7 or 8 seasons, the way that TV shows seem to run these days, the only way to end it is to kill off Rick, or not to kill off Rick. It's for Rick to wake up from a coma. It's the only way to end it. Otherwise, they're just going to, if they kill Rick and say, "Oh, the show's over," well, what about the rest of the fucking world? What about all these other people? Just because one character dies doesn't mean the show can't go on. So if they kill off Rick, if they were to kill off Rick in this season or early next season, something like that, if they were to kill off Rick and continue the show, that's the only way I would say that this is all this isn't him in a coma. This is something else. I do wonder about that show a lot. What the hell's going on in the rest of the world? Is it just the Americas that are affected? Is it just the South that's affected? I don't know what I would do if it were me in the situation. They opened that series with them traveling up to I think it was Atlanta. Go up to Atlanta and try to find something out there in the city and find nothing. And now they got this prison and they're content being there in the prison. I don't know if I would be content. I don't know if I'd be content just sitting around waiting for something to happen, accepting that this is life from here on out. I think I would have to. I think I'd have to travel. Try and travel further away. I know that there's there's the thought. There's the worry of losing. Running out of gas or not being able to find supplies on the way as you travel. But I think I'd have to. I think that would be what I would want to do. Once they were all settled in the prison and you knew that everyone could be safe, I think I would say, look, I'm going to go out. I'm either going to go alone or I'm going to take 2 or 3 people if they want to come. But I'm leaving and I'm going to go and see if I can find out. I think that if you could get a full tank of gas leaving that prison, then you could get 300 or 400 miles away, and hopefully find hopefully you bring a couple of cans of gasoline with you, and hopefully you can find some sort of gas station on the way that still has fuel at it. And continue to fill up. I think I'd have to keep trying. Uh, so that does it for me for this week, November 26th. It's 4 p.m. This went for about 25 minutes, a little over 25 minutes. I enjoyed it. I hope I understand that no one knows about it yet. So I hope to keep doing this, and hope doing it every week, whenever my days off are every week, and keeping in touch with everyone. I'll try to talk about more diverse stuff. Like I said, I'll try to keep up with other sports, and I'll keep up with NASCAR and some TV shows, and maybe get into some politics and local and current news, and I'll talk about whatever. If anyone listens to this and wants to throw some ideas at me and say, hey, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this, feel free. That's all I got for this week. So, this has been my Donny Gates podcast for November 26th. Have a good day, everyone.